I'm going to still go ahead and record it.
Yeah.
Because guess what? You basically get one-on-one today that we get to talk about your business, which may be
Okay.
helpful to anyone else.
Okay.
And then I also was going to announce that there's a bonus training that I'm going to be posting later this week, possibly today if I get that time. So we get an extra training this week and another e-guide this week. Okay, so were you able to watch the training and go through the guide?
I did watch the training and I reviewed the guide. And I've been on this journey for like the last 9 months. So I was like kind of checking all of the boxes that yes, these are things. And there were a few things that I was like, oh, that might be something I need to improve on. I can't tell you what it was. And I really did mean to review it again before today. But I ended up with one contract in Indiana. So I've been really busy trying to focus on getting that client's design together because it's like
That's amazing.
3,000.
And the internet cut out again.
I think it's all key elements and steps and cogs in the wheel kind of a thing.
Yeah. Do you have any, I'm getting the alert that your internet connection is unstable. Once again, joys of living in the woods, and this is the best that it gets. Okay, and it froze again. Oh boy.
Still frozen.
Okay, there we
Oh,
go.
there you are.
Back again. Okay. Are there any specific questions that you have when it comes to like marketing your business? Because last month we talked about, the foundation and made sure that everyone was solid on that. But is there anything marketing wise that you're like, you know what, this is the part that I'm really struggling with?
Well, I will tell you that, and you spoke about it in the first month's training, that really it takes about 6 months. And of course, I'm working as an interior designer, as well as Siobhan is, that it's very much a referral-based business. We're dealing with people's homes, which is our most valuable asset. We are dealing with thousands of their dollars to implement our designs for their homes. And so it's very much like word of mouth, building trust. And I think even you mentioned that a good marketing plan takes about 6 months to really see any kind of traction. So I started marketing on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn religiously the end of December, beginning of January, and we're finally starting to see some real traction from those efforts. And we're starting to get to that next level of conversations, right? So I've been doing all of the networking locally, and now I'm finally having conversations with the people who, like some of the builders and some of the realtors who are going to be able to connect me to the homeowners. And then, because it is such a connected, personalized thing that's based on trust, I started doing a lot of like local efforts. So at one point I was kind of back and forth between, should I invest in Facebook ads? Should I be boosting things? What's the right way to do that so that I'm making the most of my investment? And realistically, I don't think that my clients will ever come to me via Facebook. I think that my clients will absolutely come to me via Google. And of course, we've been doing all of the things to get us in that top first page of the search and all of that stuff. So SEO is working. But anyway, my local efforts lately have just been me, aside from what I was already doing. I went and I potted up a bunch of succulents, and then I delivered them to some of the higher end realtors in our area along the lake shore. And I delivered them to cultivate a connection. And then I followed up with an email that was titled Plant Care Guide. So I did a really cute plant care guide on Canva, and that's attached. And then I just basically super quick intro because again, I don't like email. I'm a delete, delete, delete all day long kind of a girl. Anyway, and then because it is a realtor's busy season, those 7 realtors that were recommended to me by my mortgage officer, I'm going to continue to nurture that. So in July, I'm going to deliver something that says, I hope your summer's really popping. And in that, it's just going to be super cute. So there's going to be different sodas. There's going to be microwave popcorn. There's going to be ring pops. There's probably going to be pop rocks, like anything that has to do with popping.
Mm-hmm.
Do some of those like little snap it thingies that
Yeah, the
you
poppers.
throw on the ground. So just something fun. And then I think after 4 deliveries, I'm going to get real deep with like, okay, summer's over, you're probably winding down, time to get in front of them. So I think if I'm consistent for about 4 deliveries, that hopefully I should be meeting with some. I did have one in Holland. He is, and if I'm talking too much and taking away from what you're supposed to be doing.
Nope, please do.
Okay. The one agent or brokerage that was recommended, our realtor actually works for. So when I dropped in to deliver the plant, he was there, he was available, he came out, and I'm speaking in front of that entire brokerage tomorrow morning at their like meeting. So yeah. So I feel like I'm finally getting to that next level of conversation, that next layer in the topography of getting to the ideal client and standing strong in my space over the last 6 months, and sticking to my processes, my standards, my minimums, even though it was really scary at times. And I'm like, where's the work gonna come from?
Yep.
It has been really, really beneficial for me mentally, emotionally. And then you and I had communicated, I put 4 proposals out in May for Indiana clients. And one of them was as big as the other 3 combined. And one of the smaller ones I really didn't want. And another one was a long-term client that I basically had to like present the new pricing model to. And then the third one, she was a former client, but she was just kind of a one-off. We hadn't really done a whole lot for her. I just helped her with selections in a kitchen. And so when those other 3 small ones like declined the proposal, I just told myself,
Internet. We'll get it back.
and I'm super excited about how things are progressing. So all in all, I kind of feel like I'm still on track. I feel like we're making good progress. But I also realize there's always like room to grow. And so I just continue to do what I know and expand on new possibilities or ideas as they come to me. So
I absolutely love that you went to these kind of ideal referrals, which is different than an ideal client, but they can, refer you. So there are the relationships that you want to strategically build, which is your ideal referrals. And as you're talking, I'm actually going through the marketing strategy that you verbally, told us what you're doing. And you are on stage 6 of 7 of a marketing strategy. Whereas most people, when they come up with like these, crazy out of the box ideas to do, they're like, oh, I'm going to do this thing. And then they just go and do, but then they miss that last two steps, which is monitoring your strategy, which I love that you're like, no, actually I have benchmarks. I'm going to do this 4 times. And then you're also going to adjust and you're going to optimize it. Like, okay, like what places did I get the best, interaction from? What places have I already, gotten referrals from? But I love that you already have your marketing strategy and hopefully you have it written out as well. Hang on 2 seconds. Boys. They're just puppies and he's like, yeah, what? I'm
Ready to play. Where's that ball?
He's fighting with his brother, but like in a play way. So yeah, that's like, you already have this one marketing strategy and we can have multiple going at the same time. So like this one would be an in-person referral marketing strategy. And we can have, for example, a, sales strategy where maybe we have like a guide that we're trying to, sell along with our services to kind of have an in with them to be getting email addresses, like their contact, start gaining their trust. And then we could have, for example, a social media strategy, but like, it doesn't have to be this huge thing because I feel like for most people, they're like, oh my gosh, once I start sitting down, I feel overwhelmed when it comes to a marketing strategy, but it's literally as simple as you just stated. Like, I have this idea and I'm going to go to these people and this is what I'm going to give them. And here's my follow-up. And then I'm going to go back to them again and I'm going to, kind of change a couple things and I'm going to see how that works. But like, that's exactly what a marketing strategy is. It's not as difficult and complicated as people make it to be. So thank you for sharing all that.
I think when it comes to like my social media strategy, the kind of big helpers for me were I really worked with ChatGPT just to fine tune the tone, the language that I wanted to attract my ideal client. And so I went from initially just like posting what would basically just be advertisements to transitioning that over to where now I'm basically asking questions and making them think, like, is your home really enhancing life and how you experience, your space? And are you finding sanctuary at home? And is your home set up to where you're, it's fostering connection with others? Because that's really the core of our brand at Tranquil Interiors. So yes, doing social media and having authentic content, it can be exhausting, but I also plan that out. So like I'll sit down and it might take me 2 days, but in 2 days I can do like 45 days worth of posting 3 times a week. And one example, I took the testimonials and the Google reviews and I turned those into like Testimonial Tuesday posts. And some of the really big ones I cut up to where they were giving me like 3 or 4 posts. And I used the exact same template for all of them. They all went down on Tuesdays. And I have my Testimonial Tuesdays covered through like the middle of August.
Yeah, which is amazing to sit down and just batch work because that's how you free up your time.
Yeah. Yeah, because I really haven't had to think about my social media all month. And if I'm doing something and I'm like, oh, that'd make a great post, I just add it to stories because it's on more of a personal side, as opposed to like just a business post. So I keep that into my stories, the more casual, like here's a sneak peek at me, kind of a authentic exposure sort of a thing.
Which I think is the part that a lot of business owners, at least in my experience that I've seen, that they forget about is they make it sell, sell, sell. And they're not really providing that personal touch of being authentic or asking questions, getting your following involved. And most of the time it's because people just don't know what to post. And I love that you use ChatGPT because that's a really good resource to get ideas. Like definitely change the verbiage so that it's your verbiage. And also taking out the hashtags and the emojis, like the ton of emojis, because it screams that it was done by AI. But
And
it's a
I'm not
really
an
good
emoji kind of a girl anyway. Like,
and they throw in
you
so
know,
many. I use
yeah,
them in my personal posts, but like
yeah,
they make it very obvious.
yeah, yeah. Well, and so back in like November or December, I took an online presence course with the woman who developed my website. And so she's the one who really kind of taught me how to use Chat GPT. And like I feed Chat GPT everything that I want to say in
Mm-hmm.
my own words. And then I just asked Chat GPT to polish it into my brand tone.
Yeah.
Um, and so that really helps because I'm bad at having a thought and self-audit editing before I'm even done with the full thought. So with Chat GPT, I just tell myself, just keep word vomiting, just keep feeding it. Like, don't worry about, your grammar, don't worry about your beginning, your middle, and your end. Like, just keep going. And then, hit that enter button, and then you can take what they've done and kind of tweak and modify. So,
Yeah. Which I think is also super important to keep it straight to the point. Like, because people, for the most part, are not going to read like a whole paragraph on social media. When it comes to social media, they're there to scroll, they're there to be entertained, to be educated on something. And that's why the sell posts don't do awesome because that's not what people are coming to social media for.
yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well, and the blog is going. So the blog I think kind of helps one because you've got at least one other
yeah.
that's creating its own social media post is just announcing the blog. But like for example, my blog that went out, I think the end of May was all about authentic art in your home
Mhm.
decor. And it's not, I mean, it addresses everything from like your children's art and their tiny little
Yeah.
punch pots to, having, a collection from like your famous renowned artist, right? Or up and coming artist, whatever. And we talk about like the Grand Haven Art Festival. And so what I did is I actually promoted the art festival and the blog kind of simultaneously. And I'm volunteering at the art festival. So I'm kind of not just like putting it out there like, oh, you should have original art in your house. And this is the way to do it. Like I'm really like kind of fortifying that and that blog and that just post concept for the whole month by supporting the art festival in Grand Haven.
Yeah.
So will it pay off? I mean, I don't know, but it doesn't hurt to have an idea to run with, and it gives me like a full month of creative art or original art content that supports my theories and approach in the blog itself. So,
Which is
and then next,
also um hitting on the topics that your brand stands for and like your keywords, which is that connection piece and
Mhm.
community and tranquility. Like it is all bottled into one of something that your business already stands for. And it just solidifies that. And you're also providing not content, what am I thinking? Resources, like something of value.
Yeah.
I
So,
love it.
so what is step 7? Can you remind me?
Yep. So right now within your marketing strategy, which I love exactly where this conversation has gone because we've kind of been able to go over one of your marketing strategies that you put into place, which I think that this is going to be super helpful for others as well. This is absolutely our topic for the month. So number 6 is implementing and then monitoring your marketing strategy. So exactly what you're saying, that you're like, I'm going to go back to those places 4 times throughout this span of time. And then you're going to, number 7, adjust and optimize it, which anything that you do within your marketing should be adjusted and optimized. Like it should be analyzed. Otherwise, you're just throwing stuff out there and have no idea what's actually working. So that was number 7, is adjust and optimize.
Okay.
And then that is the end of the marketing strategy, because then you move into a sales strategy, which is vastly different than, or not vastly, it's so many people get their marketing, like my marketing should lead to sales. Well, kind of. It is the thing that leads to your sales strategy, but you have to also have a sales strategy in place aside from your marketing strategy. Because if you don't have a sales strategy, then you just did a lot of marketing for, like, you're leaving money on the table.
Well, and I think some of that comes back to the foundation, right? We talked about the processes and the procedures. So if you have a process and a procedure for the business, if you have one for your marketing, and then you have another process and procedure for your sales strategy or your client experience, that in and of itself is what really enriches the entire offering that you have. And that was one thing that when I first moved to Michigan, I was able to, it was a really great break. Like I've got colleagues across the country that are all trying to kind of retune and retool like what I did this winter. And it's sometimes people are putting the cart before the horse. And it's like, no, you have to stop and you have to slow down. And I've got one girlfriend who's really frustrated because she's following the same process and procedure program that I am. And she's like, I'm not converting any of my proposals. And I'm like, but the majority of your proposals are going to referrals that are from your previous clients. And we already know your previous clients were not in your ideal client market. So instead of emailing builders, like I'm asking builders, can I take you to lunch?
Yes. Providing the value and being authentic.
Yeah, let me take you to breakfast. Let me take you to lunch. Like, I don't drink, but I guess if you want me to buy you a beer at the end of the day, I'll buy you a beer. Like, what does it take to have a conversation with you? I joined Home Builders Association because builders don't want to answer any more emails than they have to. They're, especially if their own processes and procedures and their own system and their network of staff isn't balanced properly, they don't even have time to open the email. So I joined Home Builders and I was able to have a face-to-face with one of the builders who I had been emailing, and he actually at least responded and said, call me, but then I called him and he never called me back. And I actually left a couple of voicemails and a follow-up email saying, hey, I've left you a couple, and that didn't work. But meeting him in person at the Home Builders event last weekend, now we've opened up dialogue. So
which is huge, especially being consistent. Like if you're consistent, then they're like, okay, you want my attention. So now I'm going to pay attention. Why do you want my attention? Like, what do you have to offer? Yeah. Like I heard from like some of the most off the wall. Some of the most off the wall things work, and just be consistent, be persistent.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I don't mean to sound like cocky or arrogant, but I flat out tell builders that the trilogy of the relationship between the builder, the designer, and the homeowner is absolutely pivotal, in my opinion, because it's a very long enduring relationship. I mean, it can easily last 2 years, and sometimes it can be a 2-year construction, not to mention all of the planning and things that was done prior to breaking ground. So in a lot of ways, I'm not out there saying, hey, just refer me or hire me or get me in on your jobs. I'm telling them I need to meet you because I want to know if I want to work with you. Your portfolio is great, but that doesn't mean I like your personality. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like your personality, but I'm just stressing to them that,
is it a good connection? Is it a good fit?
I like to make those connections, and I like to make sure that we're in alignment, that we understand each other's process, that we respect each other's role.
Yeah.
and that we're both working to support each other's role for the sake of giving the client the optimal experience that they deserve.
Absolutely.
So don't just call me and say, hey, can you come by Wednesday and meet these people who want to build with us? Because I'm going to tell you no. Even if my calendar isn't full, I'm probably going to tell you no.
Yeah.
Especially if we've built up a relationship, you're not going to call me on Friday and say, can you show up Tuesday? If we've built up a relationship, you're going to say, hey, I'm talking to these new potential people on Tuesday. If you're available, would you like to be on site and be part of the introductory meeting?
Yeah,
You know,
building
like,
those relationships are key. And building, it's a team. It's an extension of your own business's team.
yeah. And I think like we had, so, my husband's a interior trim carpenter, and that's
Yep.
really what he specializes in. And I had met a builder's wife in Holland, and her husband emailed my husband and was like, hey, we're trimming out 2 houses starting Wednesday. And this is like a Thursday or Friday, starting Wednesday. And can you can you come? We have a month to get these 2 houses trimmed out. And my husband was like, we haven't talked price. We haven't talked nothing. I haven't had a single networking opportunity or conversation with this guy. And now he's asking me to show up on a job site on Wednesday, and he's got a month to get these 2 houses trimmed out.
That is not enough planning.
Not to mention Kyle already had a month worth of work in front of him.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no, people, that's not how we work. You don't walk in and buy a candy bar. We're not a 7-Eleven. We're not selling bananas. We're a relationship-based business. So
these people's homes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's long. I mean, when people call me, I tell them, like, if you've never worked with a designer before and I'm the first person that you're calling, feel free to call a couple other people. We want to make sure that you find the right fit, because
Yeah.
I'm looking for the red flags, and I'm researching them just as much as they're researching me.
Especially because you have this relationship for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, my relationship with my clients goes well beyond the build.
Yeah, it's an emotional thing.
Yeah. Well, and just like, so I've got some clients where, we've built their house, and then now we're 5-7 years down the road, and a dog destroyed something, or they've had another kid, or now they're empty nesters and they're ready to transform those other space, whatever. So our relationships, I mean, I've got clients that have been with me for easily 15 years. And they're on their second or third home.
Yeah.
And granted, now that I've moved, some of those clients, with the change and the implementation of minimums and things like that, they can't just call and say, hey, can I get this chair recovered? I mean, maybe, but in Indiana now, no, not really. That doesn't work. I'll help them find somebody who can help them, but I'm not going to Indiana for one chair.
Okay, well, I gotta end our time, but I just want to say thank you so much for being willing to share all of this about your own marketing strategy. This I think is super helpful. So just thank you. I appreciate your time.
Aside from consistency, do you have any input, feedback, or recommendations as I move forward?
Absolutely, that consistency and keeping your social media presence up, and making sure to stay in those circles. So if that means, if they're realtors, go to the networking events, be a presence, be actually in their community, because then your name is being dropped more, and you're building those relationships authentically.
Agree. Sounds good.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.